The holidays are a great time of year to reflect on your values and what's most important to you. And in this video series, I'm trying to help people connect those parts of the holidays and celebrating with family and friends with your need to improve your health and lose weight in the new year. So in previous video, we've talked about the right ways to set your New Year's resolutions. We've talked about the power of using impulsivity for your health goals rather than just against them. Today I want to share some perspectives with you about the intensity with which you should approach these activities that are aligned with your values and that hopefully you're responding to on impulse and avoiding the dust cloud of anxiety that tends to erupt anytime we try to do something new. I will say there is something to be said for charging out of the gate, giving it 110%. Sometimes this can help flip a switch, or it can shake you into a new pattern, a new sense of yourself, a new sense of what you're capable of. And I've experienced that before, and those are all great things. However, for most of us, this is something we've tried many times before, especially with New Year's resolutions. And if you're looking for ways to improve your health and lose weight in the new year without using a ton of intensity, trying to beat yourself over the head to make changes, or God forbid, use judgment, self-hatred, withholding love from yourself, withholding approval from yourself to try to drive yourself to do good things. If you try to use fear, if you try to use health concerns, health concerns are a great reason to make changes, but how many times have we seen people go to the doctor and get told, hey, you need to make these changes, and people struggle to, because it's not that simple. They knew they wanted to make changes before they got diagnosed with diabetes or what have you. Just knowing that they're now in peril just further pushes them, along with all the other mechanisms of self-judgment and self-harm, pushes them further into fight or flight, pushes them further into the fear-based centers of their brain, which tends to shut off our higher sense of self, our connection with our truest values, our sense of freedom to make new changes. And what ends up happening is we get just more and more reliant on the survival mechanisms that have been ingrained in us since childhood. So if you really feel like tearing out of the gate in the new year with your resolutions, have at it. Have fun with it. Do whatever is sincerely fun for you. However, if you have a pattern of struggling with these things, if you're looking for a way off the hamster wheel of trying really hard and then burning out, I invite you to start small. And it's not just because starting small keeps things manageable. To be fully honest, this is something I've struggled with a lot over the years. I've always gravitated toward intensity rather than consistency. And I've also paid quite a price for those things. And even when I've succeeded, when I've met my goals, there was a lot of intensity for me during my 200-pound weight loss. But was that good for my overall mental state post-weight loss? I don't think it was. I think it led to a lot of the continuing emotional stress, anxiety-based thinking, things that I've grappled with since losing the weight. A lot of times, consistency really is the key, but consistency is sort of like discipline. Really, you could make an argument that they are the same thing. And the trouble with these ideas is that, having discipline is basically having a plan to have perfect discipline. And as far as plans go, plans tend to not work out. No fight plan lasts past the first punch, I think Mike Tyson said. No battle plan survives the battle, right? Whenever we really start to mix it up in life, events force us to change our plans and adapt very quickly if we're going to actually get to the end of whatever we're doing. So instead of making a plan to just be perfect, to have perfect consistency and have perfect discipline, which is in my eyes, planning to fail. Consistency and discipline are things that other people will say about you when you've connected with who you really are and do the things that you like to do, right? People will say, oh, Kathy is so disciplined. I'm like, Kathy, how do you stay so disciplined? And Kathy goes, I don't try to be disciplined. I just do stuff that I actually want to do, and I've gotten out of my own way. We love to think that discipline is this special characteristic that some people have and others don't. And I really don't think that's the case 99% of the time. So instead of pursuing perfection and discipline and consistency, all these frankly unattainable virtues, let's instead take the resolutions that align with our heart, with our purpose, with our deepest values, right? Whether they're health related or not. It can, like I said, playing checkers with your kid more often. If that's what you feel called to do right now, do it. Painting, singing, going for walks. It can be so many things. It can be traditional exercise. It can be getting on a new diet plan. It can be pre-making your meals. Anything that gets you more connected with your values rather than society's values or your mom's values or the deep-seated evolutionary values of survival at all costs, right? And when we're just trying to survive, we're definitely not in a space to thrive or grow. So we can start small with these things. You know, you don't have to play 10 games of checkers in a row every single day. The less you do each day, the easier it's going to be to approach that the next day and the next day and the next day. Now, some people are okay with being fairly rigid about these things. Like they start a new habit and they entrench that habit and boom, they're off to the races. For someone like me, we can also get in trouble with these things. And maybe I'll talk about this in the next video. You can make good value-based habits and then end up in the same mental snarl that you always end up in. But try as best as you can to use impulse. Trust each day. You don't need to make a plan tomorrow to work out. If these values are connected to and emanating from your truest self, rather than the self you've learned to be out of survival and self-abuse and self-harm and neglect, then you don't have to be super rigid and be your own taskmaster in order to do these things each day. In fact, it's more like getting out of your own way. Not thinking more, it's thinking less. It's not forcing, it's allowing. Again, weight loss is easy when we let it be. The biggest changes in your life, I think, all eventually come back around to what you're willing to allow into your life. Rather than trying to figure out how to get good things, stop getting in your own way of having good things. You know, most of us, we're out here striving to attain things that we're at a fundamental level in another part of our brain not willing to let in. If you can upgrade your ability to allow yourself to connect with value-based activities, and consistency will develop itself. Discipline will be baked into the things that you love. And when you do these things each day, because you value the connection with yourself, because you value them in and of themselves, your enjoyment of them, your innate enjoyment of them will only increase, and your desire to connect more with yourself rather than all the shoulds out there and the fear-based motivations for doing the things you want to do in life, these will dissipate. Another great thing about starting small is when you start small, you're able to achieve the things that you set out to do each day. So instead of saying, I'm gonna get on the exercise bike for an hour every morning, say, I'm gonna get on for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You may think, well, what good is that gonna do? I'm trying to lose weight here. The good it's doing is stacking up wins. So if you get on the bike and you're like, I only need to do 5 minutes, and then you do 5 minutes, and then the next day you do 6 minutes, and the next day you do 7. And some people will just tell themselves, I just need to do 5 minutes, and that's the only stipulation they put on what they're attempting to do, because they know if they just go and get on there for 5 minutes, it's gonna start to feel so good that they're happy to do it for quite a bit longer. The hardest part about running or working out is putting on your tennis shoes, right? And I find this to be extremely true for myself. A lot of times I don't want to move until I'm moving. So starting small is also about creating wins. You get to determine the conditions for victory each day. And by having super lofty goals, especially when we're first starting out, it increases the chances that we're gonna slip up, even in the tiniest way, and not meet that goal. And what most of us aren't that aware of is how harsh we are to ourselves when we don't meet our goals. If you say, I'm gonna eat perfect today, I'm gonna play 10 games of checkers today, and every single day, I'm gonna do this, and you're imagining your ideal future a year from now, and saying, that's my expectation for tomorrow, you're pretty much assured that something's gonna come up, life's gonna get in the way. On a habitual level, you aren't used to doing those things that way. So everything in your brain is sort of geared toward not doing these intense new goals. And then when your brain does what it's gonna do anyways, we freak out, we chastise ourselves, and a lot of times when we're used to this cycle, we make a more intense goal. rather than a less intense goal. We're like, apparently I wasn't being harsh enough on myself to ensure success, so let's really tighten the screws now. Giving yourself small goals initially is not just a great practical way to be kind to yourself. It breeds success. It allows you to accumulate victories, and every time your brain gets a victory, it literally changes the chemistry of your brain. It makes you more likely to show up and do that thing again tomorrow so that your brain gets that little hit of dopamine. If you start small and show up every day, these things will become entrenched in your life, and that's the hard part. Going from 5 minutes to 10 minutes a day, doing a habit that's already ingrained in your lifestyle is effortless. It's nearly effortless. So don't fall for the mental trap of, this isn't gonna be enough to give me the goal I want, the weight loss I want, the money I want. Don't think about it that way. Because a lot of the time, the things you need to know to attain the success you desire is a few more stepping stones out than where you are right now. You literally aren't gonna get the answers for how to get from Y to Z, sitting here at A, refusing to go to B until you see a clear path all the way to Z. Baby steps are our friend. Accumulating wins is our friend. Being kind to ourselves and allowing success rather than getting in its way, getting in our own way. These are all massive and profound shifts that will ensure your success in the year to come. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some things to think about. A word to anybody in the Facebook group who's seeing this, please interact. I'm gonna be trying to get the group more active going into the new year. Also, please go to YouTube, subscribe there. That really helps me. It helps more people find these videos. Like, comment, ask me any questions you have. Give me ideas for future videos on things that you're needing help with moving into the new year. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.